I'm here at Berlin Blockchain Week. DAppCon wrapped up a couple days ago. It's now Friday. I'm sitting here at Full Node with Federico Kunze Küllmer of Evmos.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of like a chance
random
meeting.
Yeah, like a full node. It was a breakfast, and well, here we are.
Yeah, pulled out the gear, and we're going to do a little catch up here. Yeah, so the last time you were on was, I think, right
for the podcast.
Yeah, on the Interop, I think was 3 or 4 months ago.
Yeah.
So lots has happened since then in the Evmos sphere, but also I think like in crypto generally. Maybe before we dive into Evmos, of course, like the merge happened yesterday.
Yep.
So where were you for the merge?
Honestly, I was not paying much attention to the blog where the merge happened, but I was following up crypto Twitter quite a lot during this.
So you didn't go to
week.
like a merge party to?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
No. No, I was like super tired, trying to catch up with a few weeks of work. Yeah. And
understandable. And yeah, what do you think this means for like, I mean, of course, like there's pretty significant implications for Ethereum, but I think like for crypto as a whole, what do you think the merge signifies?
I think now it's even more clear that most of the technology in the spaces or like the consensus engines are transitioning into proof of stake. It's now that the technology is mature, it's been proven running on Cosmos for years, Tezos and other blockchains, Polkadot as well, and other major ecosystems in the space are running on proof of stake, and it's now clear that most of the blockchains are now transitioning to that. And so it's like kind of like reconforting the entire space is going in that direction, and also it brings all like huge benefits for the ecosystem. Like new applications can start leveraging proof of stake and like having like a new set of users that are not just holders anymore, but also like active part of the network through delegations.
I mean, it does introduce some complexities, and like these are things that I think have been talked about at least in Cosmos and the interchain for many years, which is this problem of centralization of power with large infrastructure providers. I think I saw a tweet go by that of the last 1,000 blocks on Ethereum mainnet, like 400 and some were
Lido on Coinbase.
Yeah, Lido and Coinbase had proposed them. And this is also an issue in Evmos. I haven't looked at the numbers recently, but there is a high concentration, or there was up until we'll talk about the foundation delegations. But broadly in many Cosmos chains, there's a high concentration of power with top 10, top 20 validators, and certainly Coinbase and Kraken and the exchanges take up a large portion of those. What are some solutions that exist, either like social sort of community solutions or even technical solutions to reducing the amount of centralization in staking?
Yeah, so until now, most of the centralized exchanges that have been accumulating a lot of power, voting powers more specifically, in different networks in the Cosmos ecosystem, have been doing so because it's easier for them to circumvent the unbonding period that is kind of like part of the security mechanism of proof of stake. And so for a user that wants to stake their tokens and then immediately make them available by unbonding, they want to be part of the interest rates that the staking deposit rewards them with more tokens. It's like a form of
centralized liquid staking.
Exactly. And then then you want to withdraw those, maybe cash out or something like that. And so most other networks in the space, all these centralized exchanges have been pulling all these tokens, but they also have a lot of tokens that are available. So you can for example unbond those tokens and then at the same time transfer them over to the user immediately without having to wait for the unbonding period. That's one reason why a lot of these centralized exchanges have been like accumulating a larger amount of voting power, besides the fact that they have also a large user group from just the exchanges, like for example Coinbase. And the other mechanism that is, in order to kind of address this problem, and you already talked about this a little bit on Twitter, and I'm not sure in your podcast, but like about liquid staking. There are a variety of liquid staking solutions. The one on Ethereum, of course, being spearheaded by Lido, because Ethereum doesn't have a native in-protocol staking mechanism as you can find on Cosmos or Polkadot, etc. So it falls into like different applications that are doing this task. And then, for example, on Cosmos, now there are like multiple kind of like liquid staking protocols, chains that have been trying to launch and I think like Stride already launched. Stride already launched, that's a fact. And then Quicksilver, and there are like a few others that are also working on this at the same time, like Neutron with Lido. And then we are also going to be implementing liquid staking natively on the protocol, so that not only users can provide security via staking, but they can also have those tokens available for using them on these different Evmos applications, providing even more utility for the ecosystem.
So it'll be, when you say it's going to be native on the protocol, does that mean that it's going to be sort of integrated into the application, or is it something that you're not launching it as a contract on the Evmos chain?
Right. So like the main difference right now with the other liquid staking solutions is they run their own liquid staking dedicated application specific blockchain. Kind of like stake. You can think of it as a staking as a service, where you are managing the different like staking positions across different chains. And so, like for example, if you have Atom connected to Stride or Quicksilver, you are going to be minting a liquid staking token on Stride or on depending on the implementation. This is like implementation details, but it's ultimately the chain that is doing this work through either different technologies like interchain accounts or interchain queries, etc. Evmos will be implementing those, not those interoperability solutions, but liquid staking natively on the protocol, so that you don't need to rely on an external chain.
So it's like an
in-protocol.
It's a Cosmos module.
Exactly.
Cosmos staking module. Okay, so it's at the protocol level.
Yeah, and we're still in the phase of like scoping out which is the exact implementation that we're gonna go for, and once we have more details for that, we'll be sharing that with the community. There are different options. The main one is the one that the Inclusion team has been working on for the past few months or like half a year. I'm not sure. But the liquid staking module that they started working on.
So as a user, I was thinking about this recently. Like, as a user of many different chains, so for instance, one may have tokens staked on Cosmos natively, on Osmosis, maybe even through superfluid staking, and you may have a token staked over on Evmos. What's the benefit for a user? Like, how does a user reason about deciding whether they stake with the liquid staking module directly on the chain, if the chain has such a module, or through a protocol like Stride or Quicksilver? It
all comes to like security and incentives, in my opinion. So, for example, like from our point of view, we don't want to expose the Evmos chains to additional like security. Like additional like surface of attack by having another chain managing the security of the Evmos network. But then there's also like incentives that you can be providing if you use any of these other protocols like Stride or Quicksilver, etc. So in the end, it will be up to the user to choose like which of these are going to be more beneficial to them. But what we want to enable more specifically with our implementation is not only allowing end users to be able to stake their tokens, but also allow smart contracts on Evmos to be able to use this liquid staking module. So for example, you can imagine an index of validators. You can group them via, I don't know, like the validators that are running ecosystem-friendly setups. Eco-friendly setups, or validators have been in the Genesis.
That vote on every proposal.
Exactly. Yeah. So you can build different indexes, and you can build out a whole application that is directly connected to staking logic on Evmos, and have a new set of possibilities for staking that are specifically applications leveraging it.
Okay, yeah, that's cool. So, yeah, well, what else is on the roadmap? Because this is all interesting alpha, I think. I don't know if you talked a whole lot about this, but is there anything else that's on the roadmap that is particularly interesting?
Yeah, so we're working on some improvements to the EVM, making it more modular, and so connecting, for example, IVC directly with the EVM is one of our main priorities. So the same way that applications could be talking directly to the staking logic, we could have applications also sending transactions via IVC to other chains, or for example, to Osmosis, to Cosmos Hub, etc. And so having that more be a more easy flow of tokens out to other chains, or incoming tokens to be represented natively on the EVM without having to go through the step of the user having to manually convert those.
Yeah.
That could be a huge UX win.
Absolutely.
So those are the ideas that we're thinking for the next step on the roadmap.
Okay. And what about bridging? Since we last talked, there was of course the Nomad hack. Evmos was a pretty heavy user of Nomad, and many of the dexes on Evmos, like Diffusion or Evmos Swap, were also using Nomad assets. Lots of people lost money, I myself included. There's been some amount of pain, I think, for Evmos users with regards to this, and how is that progressing, and how is Evmos sort of recovering from the externalities of this?
So Nomad, Nomad is taking different measures to ensure that those funds are recovered.
I think they've already recovered something 25% or something.
I'm not sure exactly. I haven't been following up with the latest amounts, but they're working with different institutions to try to recover those funds for the end users. Mm-hmm. So once they have, I guess, recovered most of the amounts, so there will be a claiming process to recover back some of those. Okay. According to the announcement that they made. For us, of course, it was painful to see the total value locked decreasing, but at the same time, now we're taking a more resilient approach of working with different applications and bridges. So now instead of Evmos having a sort of a canonical bridge, we're talking to the bridges and introducing them with applications that might need different assets to be bridged over via different networks, and via those bridges from different networks. So it's a more neutral approach, and in my opinion, a more resilient approach, but it also has I would say negative consequences for the end user in terms of user experience, because then there's the fungibility issue of the tokens that have been bridged via one bridge, from one bridge versus another bridge. And so the role will be in different stable swap protocols and applications that will be able to provide fungibility for those, and you'll be able to swap them from one stablecoin to another.
Yeah, so I think there's Kinesis is one of those projects.
Kinesis is one of those, yeah.
I remember speaking with another team also that were seemingly building something similar, or wanted to build some sort of curve application on Evmos. Yeah, I think that's cool, and I think it's one of the real unsolved user experience problems even with things like Curve, it's hard to identify like a canonical, USD stablecoin when like there's so many different derivatives. And Evmos has taken one approach. Osmosis, for instance, has taken one approach to having a canonical bridge, and that's the stablecoin that appears like in their general application interface. But then, of course, like if you go into Frontier, you have the Gravity ones, and you have potentially some other ones. So I recognize it's a complex challenge to solve, and I hope someone finds a solution. Because like for users, it is confusing, and I think even in diffusion, it wasn't always. And not just diffusion maybe, but some of the other dexes as well. It wasn't always clear that like the USDC that you had was Nomad USDC, and I saw some people sort of complaining about that too. Like, I had no idea that this was Nomad USDC because it hadn't been like properly identified in the UX. And
they were like calling it USDC because it was like the one with the most liquidity. And I think in that case for users it makes sense to be. At least now, while we are still in the situation where you have bridged assets and they are not fungible, they're not directly fungible, for application interfaces to be like super clear about the fact that like this is not the same thing as like this other thing, and certainly it's not the same thing as the real thing. And here are the risks that you incur by holding this asset, and sort of like being clear about what those risks are. And I think just growing awareness around those things is really important. I wanted to talk about the foundation delegation announcement. And so, full disclaimer, Interop received a foundation delegation. Thank you to the foundation for delegating to us. And also, if you're listening and you have Evmos, please consider donating or delegating to Interop. Links in the show notes. What's the reasoning behind this program, and what's the goal in here? So the foundation delegation is meant to be rewarding like contributors to the network in different areas, and also providing like publicly available RPC nodes for the rest of the users and applications, working with the community, running relayers, etc., like ecosystem, and so on. And so this is the first round of foundation delegations. We haven't finalized the first round, so you will be expecting like more movements in the validator set. So I guess that's the main reason. And one of the main concerns we've heard so far from our users is like the distribution of the voting power across the different validators. This is trying to go in that direction and trying to improve some of these concerns. And certainly we're going to be looking to contributing in the direction of decentralization. So going to a bit more technical point, when the tokens are distributed, the tokens are minted on every day at the same time. When those tokens are distributed, they are distributed to the validators first in the same ratio of the voting power that they have, and then they're allocated to each of the delegators. So by evening out making a more uniform set of validators with more similar voting powers, you're also evening out the rewards to the specific delegators. And so that's kind of like the rationale for pushing a little bit further in this direction as well. I know that, and we're well aware that this also the foundation delegation, because we're trying to improve the decentralization as well, also comes and affects the current APR of the chain. But I think as a community, we also need to push further for the decentralization of power.
I think Evmos in the Cosmos ecosystem at least is probably, it is the chain with the highest APR for delegating, for staking. We're happy to take a cut on that if it means that the network is more decentralized, and of course over time, like this staking reward is going to go down to like much more reasonable rates. So people should expect this to continue to go down.
And that's one of the main reasons. I mean, that's one of the main reasons why we want to push for liquid staking, so that once those rates are more stable and like the adoption of the different applications is more stable, like grows over time, we will be able to have all these liquid staking Evmos available for the end users to interact with the different applications.
Yeah.
So that will be like an extra utility for these Evmos tokens that will be able to be used in applications and also be transferred over to like other chains in the Cosmos ecosystem or EVM ecosystem as well.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, well, so you're mentoring at EthBerlin, which is a hackathon that's happening this weekend. Is anybody building on Evmos, you think? Or?
I haven't followed up with like what are the specific projects from all the devs that are participating, but I'm really looking forward because it's been a while since the last one.
Yeah.
So really looking forward for this year's edition after so long.
Yeah. It's back after 3 years, I think. So yeah, very cool. All right, thanks.
Cool.
Thanks for coming around, and
thank you so much.
I guess people can see you in Medellin.
Yeah. Well, the team will be in Medellin. We'll be also giving more information about the next steps or like the roadmap of Evmos, talking a little bit more in depth about like those critical issues that we've encountered so far. Kind of doing a recap of the past year since launch, etc. So like, and what's next as well for the protocol.
Cool. All right.
Cool.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much.